Have you ever thought of the world ending right before your eyes? Hello everyone, my name is Rima and welcome to Group 6 video explanation, and today we are going to explain regarding climate change, specifically the UN Climate Change Conventions. These are the people who would be explaining today: Baihaqy, Bintang, Parmato, Sidi, Juan, Aris, Erlangga, Ilham Adhitya, Reysya, Rahadatul, Aisy, and lastly me myself. Now if you'll excuse me, the time limit is actually killing me right now. I'll move aside for now and let the presentation begin.
Alright, so here I'm Ilham Adhitya. I would like to explain in generally about the concept in our topic, that is environmental in IR. So one of the most important environment issue in the current global situation is climate change. As we know, climate change has a big impact in our world. Among others are rising maximum temperatures, rising sea level, the occurrence of storm, and etc. And tackling this issue, the United Nations has already held United Nations Climate Change Conference. Is an annual conference that held in the framework of the United Nations Framework Convention of Climate Change, or for short, UNFCCC. The United Nations Climate Change Conference was begun in 1995 in Berlin, Germany. The goal of this conference is to tackle climate change issues such as to reduce greenhouse gas emission, to prevent the rising of global temperature, and to tackling any problems regarding climate change itself.
Hi, I'm Reysya. I would like to explain about climate change and international relation. Climate change is one of a serious international issue and also in international relation. As we all know, international relation begins to broaden and depends its object of discussion to non-military topics, such as economics, politics, social, and also environment. The United Nations play a role in decision-making, movement, and discussing solutions in order to solve this issue through the United Nations Climate Change Conference.
Hello, my name is Juan Aris Erlangga. So, I'm going to explain about what is United Nations Framework Climate Change Conference. United Nations Framework Climate Change Conference is an international environmental treaty negotiated at the Earth Summit in Rio de Janeiro from 3 to 14 June in 1992 and entered into force on 21 March in 1994. The goal of the United Nations Framework Climate Change Conference is to stabilize the deposition of the greenhouse gases in the atmosphere until a level capable of preventing human interference with the climate system. The framework does not set binding greenhouse gas emissions limits for individual countries and does not include law enforcement mechanism. This framework specifies how certain international treaties, called protocols, can regulate truly binding greenhouse gas limits. As of 2015, the United Nations Framework Climate Change Conference has 197 parties. These parties are classified as: first, Annex 1. There are 43 parties to the United Nations Framework Climate Change Conference list in Annex 1 of the Convention, including the European Union. Second, Annex 2. Of the parties list in Annex 1 of the Convention, 24 are also listed in Annex 2 of the Convention, including the European Union. The third is non-Annex 1 parties to the United Nations Framework Climate Change Conference not listed in Annex 1 of the Convention are mostly low-income developing countries. This United Nations Framework Climate Change Conference was held from 2014 until 2019. The first held was on 1st until 12 December 2014 in Peru. The second was on 12 December 2015 in Paris. The third was on 7 until 18 November 2016 in Morocco. The fourth was on 3rd until 14 December 2018 in Poland. The fifth was on 17 until 27 June 2019 in Germany. And the sixth was on 11 to 22 November 2019 in Brazil.
these conferences, starting from the first conference to the COP21st to the COP25th, consecutively have been held at Lima, Peru, Marrakesh in the North African country of Morocco, Katowice, Poland, and the 25th was taking place in Brazil. Before the 25th, the Conference of Subsidiary Bodies was convened in Bonn, Germany. And lastly, the COP26 that was postponed due to the pandemic was supposed to be held in Glasgow, United Kingdom. Now, you might be wondering, why were these conferences being held then? Well, that's a fairly good question. As you can already tell by its name, these conferences was being held due to the environmental decline. Look around you. Everything wrong that is happening right now with Mother Earth, such as global warming, that is increasing each and every year because of human activities that results in many casualties and disadvantages, thus affecting the international system. These problems sparked the initiative from the UN to help these conferences to further discuss the climate change issue. But then, how do these conferences work? Actually, there's a whole long PDF page of the so-called UNFCCC draft rules of procedures that you can definitely check out, but generally, these conferences works by reviewing the implementation of the Convention, the Kyoto Protocol, and the Paris Agreements. Also, by adapting decisions to further develop and implement the three instruments mentioned before, by establishing any subsidiary bodies that are necessary, and finally, by negotiating and compromising new legal instruments to be implemented to tackle the climate change.
Climate change is one of the most important issues in the current global situation. To tackle this issue, United Nations has already held United Nations Climate Change Conference. Climate change is an international issue. The climate change phenomenon has occurred all over the world. At this point, climate change is a very serious issue to the world environment. The United Nations play a role in decision-making, movement and discussing solutions in order to solve this issue through the United Nations Climate Change Conference. The conference, which rotates annually among the five United Nations regional groups, among others, are the African Group, Asia-Pacific Group, Eastern European Group, Latin American and Caribbean Group, and Western European and other groups. Okay guys, I think that's all from what I can conclude. If you have any question, please type in the comment below. Thank you.